Hey YouTube, thanks for being here. This is the weekly question thread from r/Factorio on Reddit for today, May 8th, 2020. This is our thing that we do live on twitch.tv/clowntown. I guess it's / that we just go through some of the weekly question threads. If you're a new player, this is a great way to come to either Reddit or you can come to my channel every Friday and we can unpack a new player concept. Also, I go through and do this in kind of quick fire, respond to some of these questions in detail every Friday. So thanks very much for your support, and let's get to it. All right, question from Higgs Bacon. Good. How feasible is it to build a Megabase on a normal play map with biter expansion, normal size resources? I'm at the point where I feel like most of my gameplay will end up being building outposts and expanding the base perimeter. Yes, which seems like being too much time consuming. I need to clear out large swaths of biter nests, yes, and mainly placing down wall, laser turret perimeter. All the huge bases I've seen seem to not have perimeters, so I assume they're all on Railworld. Yes, most of them are. Is it generally better to use coal or oil patches to produce liquid products? Depends. You're right. Vanilla will take a while. So first thing, no mods. It will take a while, and you end up having a kind of a main base, but pieces of it begin to break out. Specifically, one of the first things you do is you remove all smelting from your main base, and then you end up having kind of some bulk production happen on your main base, as well as science, and then and probably a mall of some sort. And then your next stage is to where you'll start to break off different pieces of the main production, like green circuits or red circuits or blue circuits. Those modules, even those, will begin to move off of your main base. You can outpost those. And then it'll get to where there's kind of two outposts in the center, science and the mall, that where you start and pick up your supplies, and that's kind of the evolution of the of most mega bases I see. But yeah, especially on default settings where everything is set to normal, your starting area resources are very limited, and you got to very quickly begin to start outposting and finding other material. And yep, you're right. Sometimes that requires killing a bunch of biters and going out and putting down your defenses around it. And that's about it. Yep. So a mega base will almost never look like a nice square. It will begin to outpost and expand. And if you really want to get up into the, say above 5,000 science a minute, something, on the order of a gigabase, something like that, then it's going to be very spread out and very modular. Lots of rail, really far out, because resources just naturally increase the farther you go out from your starting point of 0, 0. But yes, the root of your question, your suspicion that it's going to be a very, very outpost-heavy effort is correct. Zolix88 says, any tips for starting a city block-style train megabase? Where could I find good blueprints? Tried to build it myself, but kind of failed. First thing, Zolix, is I would decide on a train size, a uniform train size, because a train size sets the length of blocks, of rail blocks that need to be available, one, in between the intersections. And an intersection could be an intersection of the block, or there's also intersections on where your train pulls into the city block to get loaded. Because what you don't want to do is you don't want to have your train stopping on the side of a city block. You want it to pull into it. So the bigger the train, the bigger the stacker needs to be inside the city block. What you don't want to do is have a train left its ass end halfway out into the main lines, onto the sides of the city block. So it has to be bigger than that. And then whatever you find there, go up with as big of a train as you have. Maybe take 2 full train lengths in terms of how to set that up, and take 2 full train lengths, and then go out to the next length of power lines, So however long a big power pole drags to the next big power pole, take that number of lengths of power pole distance and go beyond 2 train lengths. That's one way to do it. Or 3 train lengths, shoot. But also set your main length on power pole distances so that your segments fit together nicely with power running in between them. That's the way I would do it. If you want to check out someone who's done this well, my buddy Hafalas has done this on his HTN, Hafalas Trains Network. He has got a series of blueprints that are districts. His are based on, I want to say it was a Bob's and Angels run that we did. They may be outdated, but it was a 1 locomotive, 4 cars. It held a lot of material for Bob's and Angels, but he had a length of train set for that a length of district is what he called them, the city blocks, based on that train length, and it worked very well. Now you go beyond a 1-4 train, so if you're doing 3-8-3 trains, so 3 locomotives, 8 in the middle, and then 3 locomotives on the other end, double-sided trains, then you're going to need a much bigger city block than he has. But there you go. Set your train first, and then determine the size of your stackers and all that, and then go out to the power pole length that is just beyond that. So Arthur says, I started using a certain mods in one of my games and also using a certain set of mods in a multiplayer game, and switching them on and off is kind of a pain. Is there some sort of mod management thing where I can swap between mod sets by clicking one button or something? This isn't such an issue when joining, but I tend to host games, so I need to prepare the proper mods beforehand. If you're hosting games, server management, or maybe one on server management, like my server, for example, my server has essentially save states or backup states that you can reserve. Then you can do it that way. But there is literally a button that says on there that says sync mods to save, that when you load a save, it should automatically reload all of the mods for you. Load another save, and it'll resync the mods again. It apparently it's not very obvious, but yeah, that's the way to do it. If you're hosting games on a server, then check out the backups and restore process, because on my server I can literally do that. I can load the server up for vanilla with a map and a world and no mods and save that state, and then I can dump all that, or I can change it all around and then save state 2 with a multiplayer Factorio mod, etc., with mods enabled and these settings, and save that as state 1, and then I can literally restore state 1, restore state 2 as I need, and it just kind of overwrites whatever state it's in. Anyway, check that out. Problem is I gotta, every time we play on it and we make some progress on the map, I gotta resave the state. It's kind of a little bit of a pain, but it's doable. Should I make Zazil asks, should I make solid fuel out of light oil or petroleum gas or heavy oil? That is a good question. If you want an efficiency, you break it down to crude. If you break it down to the amount of crude versus the amount of solid fuel you get out of it, light oil is your number one go-to. Not only is it you get the best bang for your buck, but you're gonna have a lot of light oil kind of left over. If you think about the things they're used for, there's lots of use for petroleum gas. It goes to sulfuric and sulfur and sulfuric and plastic, bunch of plastic you're going to need. So you should try and dedicate as much of your petroleum gas to that, because you will need a bunch. Heavy, your number one need for heavy is lubrication, but you don't need that much lubrication. It's used for a little bit for electric engines, as well as blue belts, depending on how much belt you use versus bots. You can use a lot of it for that, but then your light oil, really the only thing that you're going to use your light oil for that requires direct light oil is rocket fuel, but then also you need solid fuel to make also rocket fuel, which can come from your light oil. That's your number one use. I would say focus on that, and then rather than try and convert one of the other ones, the other either heavy or petroleum gas, just I would rather crack heavy down to light and then use light for crude, rather than try and do some sort of production straight into more solid fuel with heavy or petroleum gas. Petroleum gas, I would rather you actually just make into more plastic and make into sulfuric, sulfuric, all of that business, because now that petroleum gas is required in the chemical science, which was a change in 1760 through sulfur, the demand for petroleum did just take a bump upward. So try not to use it, even though it's a little more efficient. Try not to use it for petroleum. Petroleum, you got other things to do for. So really the question in my mind is light oil versus heavy, and use light oil all day. For Nog says, hi everyone, I'm new to this game and I'm playing a regular map with no mods. I just started Blue Science production, good, and I'm realizing that oil, yep, are required for nearly everything. Yep. I'm having a hard time to understand what does what. Try looking up tutorials on YouTube, but they are too advanced for me. What is a refinery, and how's it different from a chemical plant? And what are the oil barrel / barrel with real different colored oil icons in my crafting menu? I'm trying to create a main bus. Which product should I have? Please bear in mind that I'm new and not necessarily looking for a dolly optimized build, just some basics. What are oil tanks used for? Why would I want to store anything that I can just have my pipes idle? Great questions, man. Oil is the number one use case for oil's number one use case for getting a new player stopped in his tracks. Let me see. Maybe watch actually a speed run may be helpful. I'm thinking about what a speedrunner does with the very first time they get to Blue Science is they'll lay down 10 to 12 refineries, and then they go straight to petroleum gas, and they throw down plastic, and they throw down sulfur into chemical plants. So refineries break down the crude into 1 or 3 different derivatives, you can call them, and then the derivatives go make products using chemical plants. That's the basic one for it. Tanks, you don't want to use too many tanks, because tanks don't solve problems, they just delay problems. There's a lot to it, and you're asking the right questions. I would say go by, watch a streamer, ask those questions. You could also there's probably lots of oil tutorials out there. You can go check it out. And oil's number one. So keep cracking, watch some YouTube videos, and give it a shot. To your second question, trying to create a main bus, which products should I have? Please bear in mind I'm new and not necessarily looking for a dolly optimized build, some basics. 4 copper, 4 iron, 4 belts of iron, 4 belts of copper, 2 steel, 2 belts of steel, 2 belts of brick, stone brick, and then I would say 4 belts of green circuits, 2 belts of red circuits, and 1 or 2 belts of blue circuits, and then that would be a good bus to get you started. I've seen other people do gears, a couple of belts of gears. Don't necessarily need to do that, because gears are needed just about anywhere, just about everywhere. But everything else can be made point of use. You may 2 belts of plastic wouldn't be a bad thing to put on the bus also. So make sure you have also room in between the belts to 4 spaces in between each bus lane to put a roboport, because you'll grow into robots later on. So put your copper here, 4 spaces, put your iron, 4 spaces, put your next one. So make some room. Ozark Ranger says, for some reason, the bugs have stopped attacking my artillery turrets. Expanding my rails to get some larger resource patches, and the last 3 artillery outposts I put down had no piles of bug outside them at all. The bugs gather in a swarm, but their spawners start getting destroyed. But then they just shuffle around, maybe dash a few tiles away and stay there. The map is filling up with huge clumps of angry biters on top of their flattened bases. They're driving my UPS down. The outposts aren't blocked by water or cliffs or anything like that. I've been doing the same expansion for hours, seeing strange behavior until now. Any idea what could cause this? One latest 1822, good. Coincide with the new behavior started happening? Maybe. Maybe that... I've seen that before where there's tons of biters outside the pollution cloud and they're not triggered because of pollution. I don't know. They're outside the range. They can tell where the attack came from. Yep, that's probably it. Yeah, I guess if you make your artillery range too far, like if you've maxed the crap out of your artillery range, which it sounds like he's in end game anyway, then yeah, they may not have a calculation vector to figure out where the attack came from. They just rain from above, and then they don't have a source for it. They can't calculate where the source is. That could be it. What is a Baggins 5.5? Why is it when I see my power station satisfaction slipping to yellow, my steam turbines don't appear to be running at full power, despite having the full 60 steam needed? Is it some weird thing with the temperatures that I'm missing? Steam turbines. Full 60 steam needed. Do they have the right ratio, maybe? I need to see this one in a picture to see what the ratio is, to make sure you have 1 to 20 to 40 maximum ratio and all of that. It should be max. It should be peak performance. Steam turbines. Steam turbines or steam engines? Oh, he's talking about steam turbines being used as heat exchangers. Oh, okay. Yeah, steam turbines only work with much they're needed. Yeah, okay. Steam turbines. I think their mechanics on steam turbines are different than the steam engines because they do different things. But I need a screenshot to confirm. The Shash. I'm so confused. Why are my resources so spread out and limited? Kept all the original settings. However, every single post I see have resources next to each other. So if he's on default, your starting area is the only one that's guaranteed to have resources next to each other. But if you're looking at others and comparing your map to others, then there's no guarantee that the other screenshots you're looking for and getting jealous of are not cranked up. They may not be using default settings. If you do a rail world, it's way less frequent and they're way more scattered, but they have way more deep and rich patches of resources, and they're way far out. So I would say don't post a screenshot, or don't be looking at the neighbor's yard and getting jealous. They probably cranked up their resource size. Kylorian says, noob question. Good. When I place a blueprint, is there a way to have the turn pieces put down properly? It gets for conveyor belts. It gets almost everything else right. When I try and drop a belt on a ghost turn, it doesn't convert to a turn. In order for a belt to convert to a turn, it has to have another belt around it with a direction going the right way in order for it to curve. So if I paste a belt going upwards this way and a belt going this way on top of it, it'll curve. But if I don't have this one and I place a belt, it won't curve. It'll stay straight. It won't curve. So it depends. That question depends on what all the other belts around it are doing. Second question is also, is there a way to automatically construct blueprints once they've been pasted? I haven't built any robots yet. I'm hoping that's what constructors do. Yeah, that's it. That's exactly what constructor bots do is paste a blueprint down within a green area covered by a Roboport network, and throw some construction bots in that network. The robots will go to a material bin of either red or yellow or purple or green, grab material that it needs, and go put it down there for you. That's exactly what a construction bot does. Tanker0921. I started playing recently and noticed the boiler generator design has changed. My last play was in 2018. What has changed since then? A lot. The boiler generator design has changed. He's probably saying the ratio. It used to be 1 offshore pump to 14 boilers and 28 steam engines. Now it's 1 to 20 to 40 respectively. That's changed a bunch. If you haven't played since 2018, lots of stuff changed. From 16 to 17, and then from 17.60, 59 to 60, it changed a bunch. GUI, the only thing went from the only thing that changed from 17 to 18 was the graphic user interface and paint. Yeah, the boiler generator default was very different. It was some very odd ratios, but they simplified it a ton. That 1 to 20 to 40 was super awesome. Lots has changed. It's not a new game, but it's just better. Everything about it's a better game than it was in 2018. Some say perfect. Gamma Red says, "What's the deal with Factorio? Why is it recently so popular, and what does it offer over Angels and Bob? More in-game and less complexity than Angels and Bobs." So it's an overhaul mod, and our overall consensus is that it's about 40% of a Bob's Angels playthrough. It's not as in-depth. It's not as a detailed, quote, pain in the ass. But it's a nice mix of lots of depth, which is what you want. There's a difference between detail and tedium and depth. It has depth. It's got some... the other thing is it's got some cool guns. It's got these cannons in it. It's pretty badass. Like sniper rifles, all kinds of good stuff. You can go and crush fighters with it. Really fun. And it's got lots of interesting things for end game. And for those of you who are wanting to get into some pretty high concepts near the end game, you can do that. You got antimatter, and you got some mineral water. You got some lithium batteries. You got a new element called immersium. You got some rare metals. Really, really good. It's just a well done mod, and it's not as far as it doesn't go as far and as detailed as Angels and Bob's. But it's probably another 20-30% of more in depth than Factorio Extended Plus by our friend Jimmy John. And then it's kind of that sweet spot in between the two, in between Factorio Extended and Angels and Bob's. Highly recommend it. I'm doing a playthrough right now, community. It's good. What's the deal with Factorio? Tahoma Sans asks a new player question. Kinda. How do you transition from the starting base to the mid-end game base and then to Megabase? Do you dismantle things and make new? How do you plan your expansion from the start? Great questions. This is really good. There's lots of struggle in that. You have to grow, but you can't grow too big too fast, because then you'll run out of material, or you'll kill your power. I would say that you'll want to... First thing you want to move off is smelting. You move your smelting off and you start bringing plate in and offloading them. When you do that, the first thing you'll need to do is decide two things: how and where your train network is going to be, because trains are the way you're going to do it. Belts are kind of infeasible at that point. If you can do a belt base, but it's because you're a savage. You don't want to. You just want to have 6 miles worth of belt rather than 6 miles worth of track. First, decide how big your trains are going to be. That sets a lot of stuff. Second thing to decide is right-hand drive, left-hand drive. Google that. YouTube. Look YouTube that. There's a bunch of videos on that. Third is to decide where and how your main network is going to be, and then start branching off of that. But this is a great question. So in phases, first thing to move off is smelting. Second thing to move off is other chunks of builds, such as green circuits or red circuits, or plastic/oil has to move off. And then you'll have, it's at some point, your Megabase. You will only have science and a mall left in your main area. And then at some point, you're going to want to move your science off to where that the only thing in your central base, your starting area, is a mall where you pick up all your stuff and run off and do your thing. But yep, do not be afraid to dismantle everything that you've done and redo it. The only thing that can't be if you do something, the only thing that cannot be undone is landfill. So don't be afraid. Anything other than landfill, you can always redo. You can always put it back down again. You can always upgrade it. You can always do something. Right? So don't be afraid to rip it all down. In fact, that's what makes Factorio great, is your ability to tear it all down and start again. And learn from what you did and do it better. Calorian says, noob question again. Single belt with two different items. Let's say coal and iron for grenades. The coal is on the left side, iron on the right. Is there a compact way to swap them along the same belt without some elaborate combination of turns? I usually use something like splitter, cross under, then rejoin at a T-junction on the other side. Yep, that's how you do it. I don't know why you'd need to do that. You don't necessarily have to. Single splitter and immediate rejoin, no T. But I don't know why you'd have to do this and swap them to the other side. King Melray, is there a mod setting that makes tanks more expensive as I move along in game? When I'm at red, green, I'm super not prepared for high productivity and defensive. However, when I'm at purple, I'm basically invincible in so much industrial capacity. Is there a self-balance where you can do it? Yeah, you can change mod settings through a mod. You can change map settings through a mod only, but play on expensive, and it'll get crazy real quick. But once you get up into the advanced, space science, things go up pretty crazy as it is. I don't know. Probably if you're looking for it sounds like he's looking for a different game curve itself rather than vanilla. If you're looking for that, Factorio Extended, Angels, Bob's, Crashtoria, one of those complete overmake mods, you can probably get your overall goal is a different level, different level of challenge at different phases. Probably get that out of some overhaul mods. Zoiva says, is there something out there that can tell me what exactly to do once I've gotten up to oil refining? Is there something out there? I've got a pump jack and train system, sending it all to my base. I'm not sure exactly what I need to be doing with it. Well, you're trying to launch a rocket. Yep. Use a refinery to split it into derivatives. The first derivative you get is petroleum. Petroleum goes to sulfur and sulfuric and then plastic. After you get that, then you got to balance those three between light oil for solid fuel, heavy for lube, and then you need to use your cracking system to balance all three of those out. So I don't know, if you have an abundance of anything, have an abundance of crude. More than anything, and then start producing it and putting it into and consuming the goods and services out of the oil derivatives. But yeah, I would say watch a streamer, watch a YouTuber. Once they get to oil, it's kind of a complex deal. There's definitely a balance, especially once you get to advanced oil. There's a balance between the three that you need to attend to, and it's a system of tanks, pumps, and cracking, and signals, and balancing the three derivatives out. Zarthus says, another question. I have a chest set up for the centrifuge enrichment process with one stack inserter picking up 3 times 10 U235, then another inserter removing the excess stack 1. This works fine, but I want to add productivity modules with messing things up as soon as there are 1 plus X number of U235 inside the chest, initial 30 removed. Using the greater than and equal condition would be the way to go, but the inserter keeps pulling out more. Set your stack size. Control your stack size to 1. Or build up in that box to where to where you build up more than the stack size. So set a controller, instead of to do 1 plus N, wait until there's 100 in that box and then start outputting, right? And say this stack inserter is only going to output from this box until once there's 100 in here, and then it may drop to like 91 or so because it'll pull more than it should at one point. But then you have one Covrex thing that'll just keep running the whole time, but let it run a little bit more before you start pushing it all out. Don't do the 1 plus N. Do like 50 plus N. That's easy. That's the easiest thing. But your question is good in that you want your first centrifuge to start spinning and add more. But I think all you're doing is you're pulling off too early. Zarthus asks a great question. This is a good one that you can learn early on, especially in speedruns. If you use circuits in a speedrun, which some of the best players do, are red-green wires for free when placing blueprints, or do you have to place them manually? Yes. Do a red-green wire blueprint. Paste. All the other pastes are free. You never have to make another one for that blueprint. So, yeah, you don't have to do wiring all over. This is a great question. That's one of the neat little advantages of doing blueprints and replicating. So even if you're the one to place them, they're still free. Whether the bots do the placement or you do the placement. If I wire an inserter and a chest and wire them up and then I paste it 10 times, then even if I'm the one who places it, I just start placing all the inserters and placing all the boxes, the wires appear for free. Great question. Sinus American. Coming back to the game for the first time since 2017. Welcome back. Playing New Railroad on vanilla with biter expansion, steampunk vibe, all steam power, no solar, no lasers. You stud. Lasers are the jam. You'll be using burner inserters. Here are my usual tips for that, says Lurker in Chief. But if it's all steam power, well, he didn't say no miners. He just said all solar. No, just if you're not doing lasers, then upgrade the crap out of your get to piercing ammo as quick as you can and upgrade your ammo damage and your explosion damage as much as you can. Also, get some walls up and use flame turrets. That's very steampunky. Use flame turrets for your defenses. All steam power, no solar. Be ready to do a bunch of it. If you're not using nuclear, then you're gonna need a lot of these sets of boilers and a lot of coal or solid fuel to run it. But good. Welcome back. Lots have changed. Ben Axel says, if there is a station free and a station taken, occupied, is it guaranteed that this train will always go for the free station? No. I think it goes for the closest one. Right? If there's a train way over here and a train way over here, and one of them's occupied and the other one's not, it's going to go to the closest one. Be careful, though, Ben Axel, naming your stations the same thing. That needs to happen in rare controlled cases. Name it. My recommendation is name it Iron Supply and Iron Depot 1 and Iron Supply and Iron Depot 2, and have a train from Supply to Depot 1 and have a different train from Supply to Depot 2. Different trains. All right. It's a very controlled one. Chuck Master says, can someone explain to me the point of combinators? Or point me towards a helpful guide. I've launched 2 rockets now and enjoy playing this game, but a lot of things still baffle me. Combinators are just your logic operators on circuits. That's your if-then, that's your comparators or your constants. They control your variables and all of your calculations. I normally don't use combinators in any of my builds except for speed runs. I use it for counting a few things and controlling, but otherwise a lot of things you can just wire from entity A to entity B, and then a condition on the entity to say only work when the signal produces X, Y. You don't need to do any operation on the signal. If you need to operate on the signal to say, look, if tank A times 2 is if tank A times 2 is above a certain value, then operate on a thing, then you're going to need an arithmetic combinator and probably a decider. But otherwise, just wiring it up is usually all that I do when I'm doing my Factorio. I usually don't ever need to do combinators. But think of combinators as your additional logic steps in a program that you're writing to control Factorio signals. Unique_2 boop beep says, I haven't really kept up with the patches. Do biters attack undefended rails currently? Yes. If they get if something around it gets to block their path. So, for example, if there's a bunch of rail and a wall behind it, there's rail on the outside, biters are coming in and they encounter the rail. They may walk across the rail, but then the wall will block their path. Well, then they're going to go, and you'll see them bump around for a minute, and then they'll attack everything in that vicinity, which is wall as well as rail as well as everything. So if something impeded their path that's near rail, they'll just start eating anything around the impeded path. But otherwise, if they have a straight shot to your base and they just happen to walk across rail, they will probably leave it alone. Their path has to be blocked in order to do that. Why do I have so much trouble with oil? What is the baggage? Oh, not actually processing of it, but I mean the actual getting enough of the crude. In my current playthrough, my oil trains are basically permanently waiting at 3 patches I've claimed to get enough to the main back. That's all gone in like 5 minutes. I've had enough bring coal liquefaction. All right, maximize your oil property. Yes, modules and beacons. Modules and beacons. Beacon the crap out of them. Yeah. Put them all down. Modules, all speed modules all day. You can basically turn a very low patch into a basically a forever patch using modules. Modules all day. That's number one. And beacon around them too. Don't just put modules in them, beacon around them. That'll help you. Glarfin Schmart says, I haven't been able to start military or chemical science production yet due to several biter bases surrounding me, and I can't seem to find an effective way to fight them. I keep seeing turret creep recommendations, but all the videos say I keep seeing turrets are placed by robots. Yep. Can't get it to work by hand. You gotta get after it. You gotta, my current strategy has been to drive around the base, shooting, throwing grenades, but it's very tedious and get me killed if I run into a rock. Yeah. Combat options pre-oil are rather limited. You're right. One way, armor and fish and grenades. Armor, you wade into them. You go into the biters, armor, fish, grenade your feet. Bam, you blow up a bunch of biters, assuming they're mediums or smalls. If they're large, you're probably sunk, because if they're large or behemoth biters, you waited too long. You may need to restart. Your job as a Factorian is to tech up faster than the biters. But yeah, that's right. I guess you got the cars. So I see some engines. If you said you're going to drive around the base. But yeah, your combat options are pretty limited pre-bots. One other way to do it is to turret creep. Don't put 2 turrets down. Put freaking 10 of them and carry a ton of ammo and just drag and drop all the ammo in there all at once. Do a ton add a bunch of ammo, and then you move up and then drag and drop, pick them all up. Turrets now pick up way slower than they used to, so you have to pick them up judiciously. Also, upgrade. It says you haven't got to military science, but I'm curious. You don't need. All you really need is what? Coal, copper, and iron, because you can get steel, unless you're out of those already. But you shouldn't need. Oil is maybe off a ways, but coal, copper, and steel should be in your. Coal, copper, and iron should be in your starting zone. So you should be able to do a little bit of military, and I would focus military on. First, I would do the shooting speed of turrets and shooting strength of turrets. Damage, upgrade damage. Get your upgrades done. Yep. Get some wall, maybe. Wall's a good suggestion. Yep. Get some wall and creep out there that way. And final question. Green Sky says, am I an idiot, or is managing blueprints and blueprint books kind of confusing and way too easy, or accidentally deleting the blueprints from books? Yes. You could screw yourself. I drop blueprints on the ground all the time. Best way to do that is once you get a good one, throw it into, copy it, hit the B button, copy it into My Blueprints so it goes off and can travel between games. If you keep it all in yours, but it does create another version of it. So if you update, if your book has 10 blueprints, you can copy it to your My Blueprints section in the blueprint menu. Those 10 blueprints go there. If I then later on add an 11th blueprint to it, the first set does not update. You have to re-update it again. But that is a way to not lose them and not screw yourself on blueprints. There are a bunch of other. One other thing. There are a bunch of other services that can store your blueprints. Like if you get one that you use every game that's rock solid that you don't want to lose. Pastebin, go get you a free Pastebin account, or pay for a lifetime Pastebin account like I do. You can throw all your good blueprints up there. Yeah, and then you can share those with your buddies too. That's an even better way, because now you have a backup of a backup. Meaning, now if you delete your hard drive or whatever it is, or you lose your Steam, it gets overwritten, then your blueprint.dat file is not going to be lost, because you may lose that one. But yeah, store them on text files in Google Drive, or Pastebin is a great way to do it, because then you could Pastebin and send it to your buddy, or link it in Discord, or whatever you want to do. Good question, Green Sky. All right, thank you for being here. That was the weekly question thread for Friday, May 8th. Found on r/Factorio on Reddit. If you like that sort of thing, hit that like and subscribe. Make sure you ring that bell so you get notified as soon as I post a video. If you have a question, leave it in the comment section below. All the links and details and ways to support me are all in the description below, right there. And if you want to catch this live, twitch.tv/Clowntown. You can do this every Friday night. We have players come in and ask us questions. Chat's really helpful. I'm fairly knowledgeable. I've done some stuff. But anyway, come see us. Thank you very much for your support. We'll see you next time.